Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. Joan served the state of California as a member on the Arts Council and on the Film Commission. She was formerly on the Architectural Commission and fulfilled 2 terms on the Fine Arts Commission for the city of Beverly Hills. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview magazine, Condé Nast Publications, and the Hearst Corporation, Joan covered the world of fashion, the mysteries of food, the excitement of theater, and the international art scene. She continues to find people who are on the cutting edge of their professions. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. We're taping here at the Hollywood Museum, and the Hollywood Museum is located in the historic Max Factor building on Highland Avenue. And our guests are illustrator Joshua Wong and composer Megan Cavallari. Joshua Wong is a fashion person, an illustrator, art director, designer, and storyteller. Josh was born in Hong Kong, raised in Southern California, and graduated with the Bachelor of Fine Arts from Art Center College in Pasadena. And do you remember anything about Hong Kong?
I do. I was actually 4 years old when I left.
And you do remember?
I remember very little, but it's changed so much.
I know. That's why I was wondering if you knew about it then. Have you been back a lot?
Yes, many times for work. And it was still one of my favorite cities.
So when we talk about Hong Kong, and you were only 4 years old when you left, did it have any kind of play in your career?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I think I was so young, I just kind of followed wherever my family moved to. But I always knew I was going to be in art.
Did you?
Yeah.
Was there art in your family? Were there designers? Was there anything artistic like that?
Yes, everyone in my family, father and mother side.
Oh, both?
Were all involved in the arts.
Oh,
somehow.
what were they doing?
Visual artists. Some were one was a concert pianist.
Oh.
I have aunts that are very good pianists. I have sisters and brothers that all play instruments.
And you?
Yes, I play the cello.
Oh, you do?
I do. I play the cello. I grew up in
Chinese
Santa Barbara.
cello.
Exactly. And I like to claim that I am Pablo Casal's great grand student.
Oh, Casals. Oh, student. Not related. Yo-Yo Ma, maybe.
Yo-Yo Ma, maybe.
Maybe, right.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
He made this great film about artists, musicians from all over the world coming together and playing with that one orchestra that he put together.
It's amazing.
So you can be related
him.
to him.
Yes, I admire him a lot. I admire him a lot.
So, but none of them were designing.
No.
So how'd you get into design?
I really was more of an illustrator, and then I found out about Art Center through some family friends and applied for it, and I got in advertising.
Oh, you got in as advertising.
Yeah, as advertising.
Did you have to draw to get in? Because they ask you to give a portfolio and all that.
Yes. And we had very limited income. So my portfolio was all drawn on the back of old computer papers that nobody wanted.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Was this when you were in Santa Barbara?
In L.A. In
LA.
My sister-in-law was in IT, and she brought back all these old papers that you tear the sides out with the holes.
Yeah, with the holes.
And she said, "Oh, they're throwing it away. You want them to do?" I got accepted into Art Center from drawing on the backs of those.
I think that's so good, and you were so environmentally conscious. I do that now myself because I think I'm saving a piece of paper.
I do too. I do too.
So they loved your drawings, but
Yes.
you started drawing at a very early age.
Yes, I did. My mother recounts that I started drawing women's shoes when I was 4.
No. Oh, you were
Yeah.
actually drawing shoes.
Yes.
Because that's what you got into.
Yes, somehow I always thought the thrill of automotive design and women's shoes were so somehow related.
And automotive design is what
Art Center.
Art Center is really known for, right?
Exactly. I think that designing shoes is very much like designing cars. It fuels the passion of the man or the woman, and it has the sleekness and the it's defying gravity. Yeah.
It is, because you're up, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. You're up. Yeah.
But did you start designing shoes, or were you an art director first?
I was an art director first.
Okay, let's talk about that,
Yeah.
because that was 13 years as an art director.
Yes, I was. I graduated from Art Center, and then I became an art director in ad agencies in New York and LA.
And doing what? What does an art director do? Draw?
I had to draw. Back then there wasn't computers.
Oh, you did
so
draw.
My drawing skills really helped, because I did TV commercials and I could do all the storyboards and things like that.
You drew them all?
Yeah.
Oh.
But I was the art director in charge of all the visuals of the
Oh, I
account.
see.
And then I was paired up with a copywriter.
And so then what kind of accounts were shoes, maybe?
No, I had a lot of airline accounts.
Oh.
And
Well, there we are, up in the air again.
Exactly. I had a lot, all Fortune 500 clients.
And then somebody writes the copy for it, is that it?
Yes.
So then the art directing took place in New York,
LA,
also
New
in
York.
LA.
Yes.
Was it back and forth, or were you two separate times?
Two separate places. I started in LA.
And how different are they?
Between LA and New York?
Yeah.
Well, New York is just the scale of everything is so much bigger. So you feel the energy more in a New York ad agency. Yeah. I mean, just...
Do you create the energy, or is it just because of everything going on?
I think it's just the city. It's the city, the volume, the size of the agencies, all that stuff. I also really saw the talent was very different in New York.
Oh, I
too.
wondered about that. Well, I think all the talent, I used to say all the talent goes to New York, but I think we have so much talent here that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think now things are different.
Yeah.
But back then, you want to be on Madison Avenue.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's changed so much, even in theater and art.
Yeah.
All of it's changed, because California is a real energy central place for people like that.
Yeah.
So 13 years, drawing storyboards, hotshot people. You end up in Paris with the biggie hotshot Charles Jourdan, right?
Well, actually, I ended up in New York.
Oh, first?
Yes, because Charles Jourdan's design studio was both in New York and Paris.
Oh, so you were in New York.
Yeah,
I got it.
But I actually didn't. I moved to New York City to give up advertising, to be a shoe designer, without any networking, without anything.
Oh, you knew you were going to design shoes?
Yeah, I said to my mom and dad, I said, now that you're happy with
that
doing
I have
the
a
ad
job.
agency, I want to do what I love, and I want to move to New York.
Oh, good for you.
So I did. I went to New York, and I worked for the New York Philharmonic, making $5 an hour at night.
Oh, you were like an usher?
Yeah, no, I was in the subscriptions department downstairs.
Oh,
I could hear all of the music of the concerts.
Well, that was a wonderful experience.
It was wonderful. I loved New York. I loved New York.
And then, so how did this come about then?
Oh, it was funny. I was I was helping a friend of mine who said, you know, I have a friend who wants to be a graphics designer. Would you talk to her on the phone? She's a single mom, da-da-da.
Oh, because you were in advertising?
Yeah, because I was in advertising. I said, of course I would help this person. So we talked for about 45 minutes, and she said to me, thank you so much. What can I do to repay you for your help? And I said, oh, I want to be in shoes and all this stuff. And she
I want
said,
to be in shoes.
yeah, and she said, that's funny, my neighbor is in shoes, so let me talk to her. And I thought, oh, yeah, right, you know, this is never going to happen. Next thing you know, I get a phone call from her and said, she's the creative director at Charles Jourdan.
Oh, wow.
And she wants to meet you.
I say that as soon as you do something nice for somebody, somebody is going to do something nice for you.
That's my motto about this whole
really
thing, about helping students, helping new people coming up, because there's so much talent out there.
I know, and it's so great to see them come up instead of people like pulling the blocks out from underneath them, right?
When I was a boss in you know, in companies, my whole thing was support your people, support your designers.
To bring them up. So here you are. So you go to Charles Jourdan, because I think that's pretty cool. Did you pick the materials for the shoes? What did you do?
It was funny. I went to Charles Jourdan with this portfolio. I had 2 days to draw.
Oh.
So I did like a Manolo Blahnik drawings of these shoes. I had no idea how to make shoes. So then she waves me in. She's like, quickly, come in here. And I'm like, okay, there are tons of people around. We're on the 50th floor overlooking Central Park. And then I open up my portfolio and she goes, would you like to be my intern? Immediately.
Yeah, she knew when she saw them,
So I
right?
said yes. And so she was the one who taught me everything.
Oh, so what do you have to know to go in there?
You have to, they have to teach you a lot about constructions.
Oh, they teach you.
Yeah, they taught me about constructions.
And
So,
what is construction?
well, there are forms to shoes, like the last, heels, things like that. And you don't just design 20 shoes with 20 different lasts. Because no one can afford it, making them.
Oh, making them.
Yeah, because when you make them, you have to make sizes.
I see.
And so no one can make all these last. So you have to know how to use what you have. So they taught you how to do that. And then they teach you about trend settings and how to look for trends.
So you really were back in school in a way,
exactly,
right? But as an intern you were there.
Exactly.
And then what happened? How do you find materials for shoes?
Well, usually they have like resources already in bins, and you look through them, and you also go to leather shows.
Because they're all leather,
Bologna.
right?
Yeah. So you go twice a year to Bologna. You look through materials. You collect materials, and when you're ready to do that, you kind of play with the whole thing.
And then what happens is it becomes non-traditional too. Don't you use non-traditional materials for shoes? Now things have changed so much.
Well, prices really dictate what kind of materials you can use.
Does it?
Yeah, because it's very funny because even the design of a shoe, just by changing it a little bit, can save a lot of money. The more seams you have on a shoe, the cheaper it is to make. Yeah, because you don't have to use a whole big piece of leather. Yeah, because big pieces of leather usually have blemishes on it. So if you have piecing to it, then they can play with it.
And so those are the tricks of the trade.
Those are the requirements, yeah.
Well, here we know you've done a lot of illustrating, and you love to illustrate, and you did this fantastic piece of me. I don't know how you did it. I mean, and when you did it.
Thank you.
Tell me what, like, the inspiration. I love the way you have the name and the way you've signed it.
Well, I see Joan as someone who's helped a lot of artists come up in the world. And so I thought it was appropriate to put a frame around her, like a picture frame around her. And she has such beautiful jewelry, so I decided to do like gold Baroque kind of thing. And then she has a tiara on, and she's like a goddess with her hands out. And then I researched and found a lot of pieces that you like to wear, pins and stuff. So I threw it in there, and because I'm in fashion, on top, I did the gilding with shoes and handbags.
Shoes and handbags, I know. I think that's so great. And I love the way you signed it.
Yes.
When you do your illustrations, you sign them like that?
No. I mean, I usually sign them, but my illustrations all have a little bit of me in everything.
Oh, because I wondered about that. Yeah. But you do a lot of color, which I love.
Yeah. Yes. I was very inspired by the old fashion illustrators from the 70s and 80s. You know, I really think that fashion illustration is a lost art, and it should be coming back very soon.
And what happens, because in the 60s, 70s, 80s, all the advertisements were drawn, and they were beautiful with fashion illustrators.
Exactly. And then photography became something people prized very much.
So that took away from the hand.
Yeah, it took away from the hand. And then on top of that, later on, all the computers came in and really took away from the hand.
We have shown, while we've been talking, some of the illustrations you've done, and I thank you so much for coming and talking to us today, Josh.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Thank you, and don't go away. We'll be right back with composer Megan Cavallari. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. We're taping here at the Hollywood Museum in the historic Max Factor building, and our guest today is award-winning composer, musician, and producer Megan Cavallari. She graduated with 2 degrees from NYU University. The Philadelphia-born native has over 100 film scores, 25 TV shows, 16 musicals, and hundreds of other work associated with music from one way to another way. And she's done them all. I don't know how she's written them all. But the topper is she's the official composer of the LA Kings of the National Hockey League. And so how did, we'll come back to the Hockey League, but how did music get started in your life?
Well, my parents always loved music. They always played music. And in the second grade, in Miss Mangini's class, everybody went around the circle and said what they wanted to be when they grew up. And all the girls said mommies. And I said Leonard Bernstein.
And had they ever even heard of it?
They all laughed.
They all laughed.
And I was so angry that I left school.
Really?
And I walked home. I was like so angry. And my mom said, "What happened?" And I told her, and she said, "That's good." And she made me a lunch. And so
she made you lunch. But
she was a feminist. So she was like, "That's good. You wouldn't be Leonard Bernstein."
Was it that West Side Story time?
It was, well, no, it was, they had like, I had seen West Side Story. I had like, we had tapes of Leonard Bernstein's
conducting sessions.
I had seen Leonard Bernstein conduct at the Philadelphia Orchestra.
Right.
I had really loved Leonard Bernstein. And
but your family wasn't musical?
They just loved music.
They just loved it, but they didn't play instruments, they didn't sing.
My sister played the flute and my brother he still plays the drums.
And you?
And I play the piano and I'm a conductor.
So were you all having these lessons as children?
Always had lessons.
I see.
And they were both school teachers, so to keep out of trouble, they're like, let's get them playing sports, let's get them playing instruments, let's get them out of, no free time.
No free time, right.
Keep them busy.
So you have this strong family group.
Yes,
you have like a rebel mother
I have
kind
a rebel
of, and
mother.
you have an understanding father.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit, because
Okay.
I think it plays into your background.
It does. It surely does. My father's favorite saying was, "Take your good time with you."
Take your good time with you. Make your good time too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Or "That's great, Meg." He's a really positive person in my life. And my mother was just a strong union organizer, and she was always fighting for the underdog. So she was like really like a fighter sort of personality, and fought for justice, worked for Martin Luther King, and all kinds of things that she believed in. So,
and you have this two diverse backgrounds.
Yes.
You have a Jewish and Catholic background that you talk about,
yes,
right?
Yes, I do. My father, his family's from Italy. He was born here, but his whole family spoke Italian. But he did not like Catholicism because Pope Gregory made all the Jews walk on their knees in front of the Pope on their way to the camps. So he didn't like Catholicism. So we were raised Jewish with all the Jewish holidays. And then, but my mother was scared of being Jewish because she was blacklisted as a teenager.
When she was an activist?
Well, before that, her family were activists. They were union organizers. So they all lived in a house in Norwood, outside Philadelphia, and they were called up for McCarthy and things like that. And they were from Russian descent, Jewish Russian descent. So my mother was very scared to be Jewish because she thought that was a bad thing to be, because then, McCarthy.
I love it.
So so I had this dichotomy of my father loving Judaism.
I know.
He wasn't Jewish, and my mother scared of Judaism.
I know.
Because she, thought that if people knew we were Jewish, we would be in trouble. So
with Cavallari.
Right, and Cavallari, Megan Cavallari is a Jew, but I don't have the most Jewish name. So,
I think it's a funny thing that went on in your family, right?
Right, I'm an Italian Jew, but I'm, so,
Because does it play into your background of composing in any way, do you think?
I think,
Is there
I
something?
think I have the Italian spirit, the happy Italian spirit, and I think I have a Jewish ethic. I've been a member of Temple Emmanuel for over 20 years, and I think, I'm definitely consider myself a Jew, and my daughter's having her bat mitzvah in 2 years, and going to Milken next
Oh,
year.
that's so great! Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah. I just think it's wonderful the way it came together
Yeah.
and the way you embrace it, and being from the East Coast
Yes.
and working in the music, and you're so close to New York where there's so much work. Why did you come to Los Angeles?
Well, I went to NYU first,
Yes.
and I got 2 degrees in composition for musical theater with minors in lyric writing. And I loved New York, and I started writing musicals, and I wrote my first musical at 15. And
That accounts for 16 musicals. I mean, who could write 16 musicals, right?
Well, and it was a very interesting period for me, because that's when I noticed when grown-ups, half the grown-ups wanted me to write the music, and half the grown-ups didn't want me to write the music.
Oh.
So the grown-ups who didn't want me to write the music were scared they would lose the theater, because that was the moneymaker, the spring musical. And the other half were like, yeah, let's go with Megan. So I figured out a lot at 15, that some people are not going to like your music.
Oh, right.
And some people are going to love your music. And the people who love your music are going to pay you money. So I figured
This was all for high school?
At
Right.
15, I figured out that just find the people who love your music who are going to pay you.
You've worked with Elfman and Eric
Danny
Robinson and Jerry Goldsmith
yes.
and
Ed Shermer, a lot of
Richard
unbelievable-
Kraft.
Richard
All
Kraft
these.
is
What
my-
did you
is
do with
my
these?
agency, yes.
What did you do with these people?
Well, most of them were great mentors to me.
Oh, were they?
Just incredible teachers. Taught me a lot of how to score films.
Like Danny Elfman is such a big name, right?
Yeah, he's the top. He's as generous and loving as can be. And the first film I ever worked on was actually Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
I had a musical at the Mark Taper Forum at the time.
What was
And
that?
That was called Echo Park. And so I was working on that musical with Oscar Eustace. And he was working on Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oscar Eustace came from back east, from the Public Theater, and
Yes.
came out here to
No,
the...
he was. It was before. He was at the Mark Taper, and then he directed Angels in America, and then he directed Echo Park, and then he went back to the Public Theater.
Oh, I see. I didn't
Right.
realize that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
So,
and
yeah.
so you were working on 2 things at the same time.
Right. So
Major.
and then I worked for Danny up until Dolores Claiborne, being his musical assistant, doing all kinds of things, singing for him, creating vocal parts, conducting, doing all kinds
So
of stuff.
Claiborne was a movie?
A movie, Dolores Claiborne. That was the last movie I worked with him. And then I went on to learn how to write from Jerry Goldsmith, who was an incredible composer. So I didn't go to film scoring school. I just learned by working with the masters and being scared.
You really you had to have had some talent for these people to bring you in.
Oh, yeah, you would be fired.
I know, because they're really tough taskmasters, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, I was like scared every day when I went to work. I was like, gosh, I hope I'm not fired today.
But here you are in a man's world.
Yes.
I mean, mostly. And I thought when you talked about some people like your work and some people don't,
Yeah.
it's because the men like it and the women don't, or the women like it and the men
Well,
don't want a woman
there's
in
not
that.
even 1% of women composers. There's
I
only
know.
6 of us.
Why?
There's about 6 of us
Why?
who write music
Why?
for movies.
Why?
I don't really know. I know it's a very intimate setting. Writing the music when you're with the director is a very sort of intimate relationship. I don't know why that is. I hope with more women directors coming on board that they'll lean in and they'll hire female directors. That has not been my experience. I've worked more with men directors.
We're talking about directors or composers per se.
Directors. And I usually work with I work with my friends from NYU because I had the synthesizer in the dormitory. And then I work with people who know my work and love my work, and then their friends who they introduced me to.
Oh, that's how you were doing it from the film school? You were scoring their work?
Right. And now they're out here, and I'm still scoring their work. So that's how I continued. And then I started scoring other work out here and got relationships, and then their friends would say, hey, you should use Megan. And then their friends said, hey, you should use Megan. And then I do a thing called gold calling, where I call complete stranger.
Gold or cold?
Gold.
That's what I thought you said.
Yes,
gold.
It's not cold calling. It's gold calling.
Right.
Because for every 100 people you call, there's going to be somebody who's going to say, yes, I'll listen to your link.
Oh,
so
wow.
that's the sort of positive mindset that my father gave me. So I call a lot of people, and I send my music out, and you send your ships out, and some of them are going to come back, and some of them are not.
So you talk about 6 women in the industry.
6,
About,
8.
I mean, whatever. Give me a couple of names.
Deborah Laurie. Julie Newman.
So are you in competition with them, or
No,
do you all hang together?
No, film scoring is such a time-intensive thing. It's post-production. It's when you're on it. It's 24/7.
Are you all alone in there, or is there somebody
it's a cave.
with? Oh,
It's a cave, and you're with your staff.
I see.
And you, I'm working on a film right now called Jacob Marley. Russ Francis is directing it, but it's me, and it's a musical. So
is it an animated?
It's animated musical, so I'm doing the songs first, and then later I'll go back in a year from now, and I'll do the orchestra. So I'll do the orchestrations, and I'll do the score, and I'll conduct the orchestra capital. Something like
You
that.
did a project with Jonathan McHugh. Is he related to Jimmy McHugh?
I don't believe so. Jonathan and I are still working on an opera.
An opera,
yes,
right.
and it's called The Righteous One, and it's based on a woman named Irina Sendler, and she was a woman who saved 2,500 children from the Warsaw Ghetto. She was a woman who was 22 at the time, and she saved these children by when they were babies and young children. She got them out of the ghetto and got them into different places.
That was what reminded me of your religion.
Yes.
Did that play a part? Does something from the background come into that scoring?
I definitely feel the Jewish side of things, but I definitely feel the brave part of it. Like
too.
when I go up to conduct an orchestra, part of me is very scared, but the other part of me is like, look at me coming up to this orchestra of 100, and I usually, the guy is called who gets all the musicians is my contractor, and I always fill it with women.
So here you are with all these women. You're an amazing composer, and you're with the men on the hockey team.
And
you even play hockey.
I play ice hockey. I learned how to play ice hockey. I'm a Philly girl. I know you can take the girl out of Philly, but you can't take Philly out of the girl. And left wing, and I play ice hockey with men, and I weigh about 100 pounds less than all of them. I'm called Skeeter, which is mosquito.
Why do they need a composer? What do you do?
Well, I do all the interstitials before the Kings come on the ice. There's music that
Is it
pumps
always
them up.
new? New stuff
New
all the
stuff.
time?
I've been with the Kings 10 years, and I haven't been traded. And I also write for the Washington Capitals, but don't let them know.
but so you just write music for when they come in, like halftime, like during
during them, they have little interstitials, like the players are speaking and things like that.
After they've scored. Is there music?
No, there's buzzers.
Oh, there's buzzers.
There's buzzers.
You don't do that.
Or I Love L.A. by Randy Newman, who's also one of the best composers in the business.
Fantastic. We have to leave, but I wanted you to talk really quickly about Talk Foundation, because I think that shows another side of your wonderful self.
Oh, thank you. I run a foundation called the Talk Foundation. I've been doing it for over 10 years. And I have basically bring a computer and a microphone into hospitals. Right now I'm working with Kaiser Permanente, with Carlotta Mendez, and what I do is I have children who are in chemo and doing chemo
in the terminal ward, right?
And I get them to talk.
Well, we're so glad you brought all these experiences to us today. Thank you very, very much, Megan.
Thanks.
And thanks for writing to JAQUINN1 at AOL.com. Bye.